From the gentle lady from New Mexico, Ms. Herrell, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, witnesses, for being here today. And this is a great segue into the questions that I have. Because of all of the media, the social media posts, Twitter, Facebook, et cetera, Mr. Rosen, do you think that the social media, all the posts, social media, everybody was watching to see what was happening, do you think these impacted the ability to do a fair investigation after the riot on January 6th?
I think that the investigators, primarily at the FBI, are extremely professional and know how to do that properly and correctly. And I looked to them to do their jobs, and I'm confident that they try to do them extremely well.
Okay, Mr. Miller, I'd ask you the same question. How much do you feel like the well has been poisoned here? I mean, we've had so much fake news, cynical politicians, disinformation, far from the truth. I mean, we heard that Officer Signick was killed by a fire extinguisher in the riot, but indeed he died by natural causes, a stroke. In fact, that was put out by the D.C. Medical Examiner. How much of an impact do you think social media and other outlets had on an investigation?
Congresswoman, I have no idea, but I think you highlight a very important fact, and that's what I was trying to highlight that the gentleman from California attacked me for. Some people are doing it against us very effectively, and we need to figure out how to manage this and how to bring about some needed change.
Yes, I think they call that fake news. Mr. Conti, just a question. Capitol Police, are they in charge solely of securing the Capitol and protecting it?
Yes, they are.
Thank you. Mr. Miller, then who has authority to authorize deployment of National Guard troops to the Capitol?
Based on a request from a lawfully sanctioned entity, ultimately, I had responsibility and the authority to do that. Okay.
And just really quick, because I know we're short on time, Mr. Rosen, do you classify the events of January 6th as a riot or an insurrection, one or the other?
I say whatever you call it. It was an outrage. It was unconscionable. It was intolerable. I've heard it called both of those things. I just think we all have to agree that this is something we can never allow to happen again. All those phrases are fine, but what really counts is the conduct is something we cannot tolerate to ever occur again. And I just hope that one of the things that people take away is greater respect for the Constitution and the rule of law.
Thank you. Mr. Miller, the events of January 6th, do you classify them as a riot or an insurrection?
I'm not a lawyer. It was bad regardless. I saw it as assault on the Capitol and assault on our Constitution.
All right. Mr. Conti, I'll ask you the same thing. A riot or an insurrection?
And I think that there was a riot, but there was also an insurrection that took place in my view.
I understand. And then just, this was touched on just a little bit earlier, but after the incident, did the teams, you or your team, engage with any other agencies? Was there interagency engagement after? And I think you all touched on this just a little bit, Mr. Rosen, and you may or may not have been there after the 20th, but to your knowledge, did your team or your department engage after the riot with other agencies?
I'm confident the answer to that is yes. I'd refer you to the Department of Justice and the FBI for specifics.
Right. Mr. Miller, same question, because I think what we want to ensure is that this is a fair and balanced investigation and that there aren't silos of individual information being withheld from other agencies. I think the public, Congress, others are due truth in this, and I think having these conversations and sharing that information is just paramount. So I'm asking the same question. Were you or your department heads or your department engaged with interagency engagement after the riot?
We were before and even more aggressively after. For the final 14 days is consumed, rightfully so. The focus of the department at that point was to provide necessary security for the inauguration.
Okay. And Mr. Conti, same question to you.
Finder's relationship with
Can you repeat the question, ma'am, please?
Yes, sir, very quickly. Did you or your department have interagency engagement after the riots on the 6th to share information? And,
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I just wanted to make sure I understood the question. Yes, we did.
Ms. Chair, I'm out of time and I yield back.